We are live and in color. Oh my gosh. Yes, the champ is here. The champ is here. Intimate Discoveries, Unveiling Connections, a podcast redefining the dialogue on intimacy and connection in modern relationships. In a world flooded with fleeting interactions and surface level engagements, Intimate Discoveries aim to bridge the gap, fostering deeper connections and understanding. Each episode delves into the heart of intimacy, dismantling myths, and unveiling truths about the complex dynamics of relationships. Through engaging discussions with relationship experts, heartfelt real-life stories, and groundbreaking insights, we challenge and expand your perception of closeness and commitment. Whether you're navigating the rocky paths of a struggling relationship, contemplating the complexity of divorce, or seeking to strengthen the bonds of your marriage, Intimate Discovery offers a compassionate, insightful, and transformative journey into the essence of human connections. I'm your host, Champ Franklin. Let's go! I'm here! Ow!
And I'm here to stay, never go down.
Because I'm a champion! A champion! Listen, ladies and gentlemen! Wow, as you all know, Champ Franklin is here. We got Legacy on here. Here we have Dr. Tolbert, who is pastor, author, business owner, who has published 7 books. He's coming on his show today to share his insights on what it truly means to be intimate in the modern world. Without further ado, we are about to go into the show now. Let's do it. Oh my gosh, Champ is here. What? Love on me. Ow. Man, I love it when you give me love. Ow. Man, okay, listen up, ladies and gentlemen. I have told you. Let me see if I can bring Legacy over here. Legacy, come on. We got the good doctor coming over to speak, right? Oh my gosh. This is a moment here. We got Legacy. How you doing, Legacy?
Hey. How are you? Good evening.
Yes. You know we gotta give you some claps. Ow. Yes, so we got a great episode coming on today. Let me see. I think Dr. Tolbert is coming on. I think he has to what he has to do. He has to give permission to his microphone, right? You have to give Podbean access to your microphone in order for you to come on over here to speak, right? So we're
Yes.
gonna check and see about that. So once we get Dr. Tolbert on, he's gonna fix that little part there for us. And then we're gonna see what we can do. So come on, how's your week? How's your weekend? Welcome to Monday's podcast, Legacy.
It is, man, the weekend was awesome and amazing. Started out with dinner with friends, had a great time, good food, good people, laughs. It was awesome. Weather could have been a little bit better, but it was great. And then, some activities, fun, church, getting prepared for the week. So it's all good. It was 80 degrees today, so I'm happy. I'm excited.
Oh, I'm excited too. I'm excited for you. Glad you had a great weekend. Trying to figure out what's going on with my guy. But we always make way out of no way, right? Let
Mm-hmm.
me see if I can type in here. Give permissions to your microphone. But anyway, let me tell you something. So my week has been great. My weekend was great. I'm excited to announce I got the space set up for becoming a high reliable partner. It's going to be held.
Awesome.
Yes, yes, it's going to be held at the um, Allegra Westbrook Regional Library, right off Betty's Fold Road. And it's going to be exciting. It's going to be on June 29th from um, 10:30 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. It's going to be 3 hours. Last time I did it for 2 hours, and that wasn't enough time. Because once you get individuals in there, they want questions, and we want to help everybody figure things out. So let me try and figure out what's going on with the good doctor. Because I had him on. Let me see what's going on. What's up, doc? Let me do this here. I always gotta be in position to what we call improvise, right?
Improvise.
Yes, improvise. Always doing the improvisions. Let me go here and do this here. Hold on, stand by.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Most
no, hold on. There he is. I see him there. There he is. Hold on. Let me invite him over. Hold on. Let me see.
Is
Hey,
that
hello. Hey, hold
EEK?
on. Yes. Yes. So what you
All right. Well, while we are waiting to make sure we get the good doctor, yes, the good doctor, Daryl Tolbert here today.
that's all right. I'm
Oh, there
sorry.
he go. There he go. There he go. He's back. He's back on the screen. Now we just got to see if we could hear him. I don't know.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
No, no,
Yes.
I know you're working.
Yes.
I'm
Yes, you
just
gotta go ahead.
chatting.
Go ahead, talk like it's
Yeah, I'm just chatting while we are dealing with some technical difficulties. It is all good. I hope everyone is having an amazing, amazing day. You know, today is a new day to start a new thing, and so I just want to throw out some questions for you to think about as we're dealing with intimacy. And I'm excited to hear with the good doctor the direction of the conversation that he is going to take when it pertains to the discussion of intimacy. Um, but when you think about intimacy, how are you taking care of yourself so that you can be your best when you are a part of a situation, a relationship, a marriage, a courtship? How are you mentally, physically, emotionally taking care of yourself so that you can be your best self? We were talking about that last week. Being your best self and being intimate, not sexually. We're just talking about being intimate with yourself. What does that mean? That means self care. That means figuring out the activities that are going to make you well and make you a great person. When you step out into the world, your light is shining oh so bright. People are looking at you like, man, what is going on with them? Wow, man, they're amazing. They look good. Oh gosh, they walk past me, they smell good. They hear you talk, they're like, oh, okay, okay. You know, throwing the words out there. What are you doing to add to who you are to be your best self? Are you exercising? Are you eating healthy? I do a lot of research. I was listening to this woman, 54 years old. Oh my God. Nigerian woman. I think she lives in Sweden. She's a coach, fitness coach, um, and life coach, and she looks absolutely amazing for 54 years old. And she said she didn't always look that way, you know? So, what are we doing? Are we taking care of ourselves? Are we eating right? Are we mentally, emotionally feeding our brain with the right information? Making sure you have positive mental stimulation. And how do we do that? I like to listen to motivational speeches for athletes. You know, like you know how the guys are in the, I mean, I didn't play sports, but you know when you watch them on TV and they're in the locker room and the coach is getting them all riled up, you know, for that rally call, and they're about to exit out onto the field, like yeah, like those are the kind of things I like to listen to,
Hey,
you know.
Legacy, what's going on?
Yep,
Good
you
job.
ready? You
I
ready? You
am.
ready? You ready?
Hey, Doc, here we are. Yes, I'm going to introduce Dr. Talbert. He's here.
Yes.
Having some
Woohoo!
technical difficulties, but give us. Let's hear from you, Doc. What's going on with you? How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Trust me, I'm honored to be on the show. Appreciate the invite.
Yes, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you got what, 7, 8 books out there. Pastor, a motivational speaker. I know you've seen a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm Dr. Darrell Talbot here out of Ocala, Florida. I am a pastor, also chaplain, motivation speaker, pet grievance counselor. I'm owner of Cushite Financial
Mhm.
Services and sell insurance. Truck driver, also trucking business. So it's a lot I have my hands into. Author, 7 published books. Also podcast host. I host Illumination Show with the Doctor. My topic is unforgiveness. That's something that I have been really focusing on.
Okay, well that's good stuff. So unforgiveness. This is what we're going to talk about. I want to how when you say unforgiveness and you're talking about on your podcast, how does
Mhm.
that impact your relationship, your ability to have a true intimate relationship? What have you seen with that?
What had happened is, and the reason why I'm on that topic because my latest book is called "I Forgave the Two Men I Vowed to Kill."
Mm,
And as a pastor, I goes back into situation before I was saved. After I came home from the military with honorable discharge, ended up running to racism at the police department, and that bounced me into becoming a drug dealer. And it was situations in the drug dealer when I was selling drugs. A guy came to a family function thinking I was messing with his girlfriend, which I wasn't. And my cousin was standing beside me, and he just opened fire. Hit her, killed her. She was 17, left behind. I think our daughter was maybe 3 years old, and the son was maybe 4 months old at that time. And once I ended up going to prison, getting a relationship with God, I got out serving God, doing things in the community, giving back to the community. Life is good, but I had vowed to kill that guy. And 30 years later, I just happened to be just doing Uber for the fun of it. And got a call one night and went down there to the place and like, hey, who's here? Call for Uber. And the lady talking to 2 black guys. She said, wait a minute. So I'm looking at the Uber app and somebody come to the window and say, hey, you want me to get in the front or the back? I said, get in the front. When the person got in, I looked, it was him. 30 years later, I finally meet this guy. And it was at that crossroad that I think God set up that situation so that I could forgive him and move on because that was a weight. One thing about unforgiveness is it's a weight. And oftentimes the people come on the podcast show, it's something from childhood. Normally they've been carrying situations from childhood. And I always teach this right here. Your childhood is messing up your adulthood. And those things in our childhood affect, when you begin to look at the word intimacy, begin to look at one aspect is a closeness, a bonding. And a lot of times, if I've been hurt from a child, it affects the way I bond with people. It affects the closeness that I have with people. So when we begin to heal ourselves, first of all, it opens us up to be close to other people, to put down these shields that we have built up because we might have been hurt. So we throw up shields. That's our way of protecting our own heart. And I think once we get healed, we can start slowly trusting again.
mm-hmm. Oh, good stuff. So, um, I, I am I'm thankful that you shared your testimony and that experience, because, like you say, that was a divine intervention, for you to be able to let go of this individual, because that was something that was hindering you from making progress in your life, right?
Yes, sir.
And I'm glad that you took that moment to stay positive and make that change. And so when you talk about closeness and intimacy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
let me so what does that mean? What type of closeness are you referring to in an
What?
intimate relationship?
Well, it depends on how you look at the word. If you look at the Hebrew word or the word intimacy, the Hebrew word means to know. So when I begin to look at to know, there's two aspects of to know. There's the sexual aspect of to know, because the Bible says that in Adam he knew Eve. Well, that's talking about a sexual experience. But then if I look at Jonathan and David in the Bible, these was two guys. They was close, and their souls was knitted together to where Jonathan was supposed to be king, but him and David had such a relationship. He didn't mind saying, "Okay, I know that my father's the king. I'm heir to the throne, but I know God has selected you as the king, so I'm going to bow down," and say their hearts was knitted together. When you look at that word intimacy, you begin to understand that the whole meaning of the word is a bonding, understanding, feelings. And I think that when we move the sexual component out, and don't get me wrong, there is a sexual component, but I think that's the problem. And being a married man, trust me, I had to learn that my wife want to just sit there and cuddle,
Right.
or just be in my presence.
Mm-hmm.
Also, now I'm ready to go, to know her.
Right. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
that's not what she wants.
Right.
She just want to be in my presence, to have that experience, just to hold me. Or I saw a picture was so beautiful. It was a woman just laying in the man's lap. He was reading the book, and she was just so content. That's an intimacy for her, just to be in your presence, in a bond, and getting to know each other. The closeness is also can be just emotional, just we're right here with each other, just being here, like when you first fell in love, you're on the phone talking, and you hang up, no, you hang up, no,
Mm-hmm.
you hang up.
Right. You under the covers. Yeah. Back yeah, back in the day, you if you didn't have you burning up minutes, right?
Come on.
Right. So yeah, when you were talking about intimacy means to know, and you were talking about something, and it's not sexual. Oftentimes it's not sexual, because I was looking at when you talk about in the Bible, right? And it says in the Bible, it says to know God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is, and like I said, I'm going into it, but this came out my spirit, right? And this is eternal life, right?
Come on.
This is eternal life, to know God, right? And and
Yes.
and and to know God is to be intimate with God, and you ain't touching God like that, right? So
Right.
so intimacy has to be more than just sex. That
Right.
requires a relationship, right?
Right.
Right.
Uh, And I'm gonna give you a good example. I'm writing a book. I'm a marriage counselor too. I forgot to
Okay.
say that I'm a licensed marriage counselor. I'm writing a book called "The Struggle of Two Becoming One,"
Mm-hmm.
and in there, I point out something that's very deep. In my relationship with God, I am the bride. I'm not male. I'm female. Jesus is my husband. And when I trans over into that spiritual aspect, in the physical, of course, I'm married to my wife. But when I go into that spiritual aspect, to where I'm no longer the husband, I'm the wife, in my relationship with Jesus, there's nothing sexual about that. That's all the oneness, the closeness. A good example, when I was in prison, what I used to do is I used to fast from Friday night to Sunday. I go out on the compound, get away from everybody, get by myself, have my Bible open, and that was my intimate time with God. For a 24-hour period, no television, no nothing. It's just our time. Sit there and just focus. Lord, speak to me, talk to me. So when I begin to understand that in my relationship with God, that there's a closeness minus no sex. If I could only, when I transform back over into the physical, And if I could bring that into my relationship, or if we could bring that into our relationship with our wife, then it'd be so beautiful, because it's not all about sex. And we can understand, I could be in your presence, be there with you, holding you, talking to you for hours at a time, just enjoying the beauty of being together in bonded, laughing and all of that, and just no sex. And if we could do that, especially as men, that's going to open up the door to the sex, because women who experience what I'm saying, that's automatically turns them on. That's the rush that. See, I got amen from that.
You got an amen right here, doctor. Yeah,
Oh,
doctor. But
right.
you're so on point, because I had someone who ghosted me 6 months ago pop back up. I don't hold grudges, so when he texts me, I said, "Oh, okay." He was like, "I'm so sorry. I was just going through things," and I was like, "Oh, okay, fine." He's texting, and then he said, "Can I call you?" I said, "That's fine." And we spoke and stuff, and he dove right in as if he didn't ghost me 6 months ago, and he explained himself. But then he was, like, I said, yeah, I said, I was very hurt. I was disappointed. I said, because I really liked you. I said, but you were going a little fast. I said, which I did share with you, that was a little too fast, or what have you. Anyway, he got upset because like, within the second day, he was, he must have FaceTimed me about 4 or 5 times. He was like impatient. And I'm like, then, so the third day I said, listen, I said, 6 months has passed. I said, I'm in a different place in space. I said, you're talking a lot about sexual experiences. And I said, and that's not where I'm at. I said, right now, for me, my connection to a man is beyond the sexual experience. I said, because we're older. I'm 56. I'm like, I'm closer to 60 than I'm to 50. I said, and I want to know that the person that I connect to, that if stuff stops working, or things just are not like, that drive is not there, that we are each other's best friend, that we enjoy spending time with each other, laughing, holding hands, sitting, watching TV together, going for a drive, going for whatever it is, and just feeling great about the experience and the times we spend together. And he got upset, and I was like, I don't really care.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's good stuff. And so, one of the things that we do on the podcast, Pastor, Doctor, Author, Sir,
So you can call me Daryl. It's all
okay,
good.
I'll call you Daryl.
I'm not one of those people. Oh, man, you gotta call me by some time. No, I'm Daryl. It's
No,
all
okay,
good.
Daryl. Well, the thing is that when I've been in the military, I served 30 years in the military, right?
Which branch?
The Navy. I was in the Navy. Yeah.
I was in the Army.
Okay, went from E1 to O4, retired lieutenant commander.
Oh, wow.
And
Oh,
so
wow.
yeah,
Congratulations, man.
thanks, appreciate that. And so I had to say sir to people who I didn't sort of respect, right? Period, right?
Right.
And so when I'm interacting with especially a brother who's made it to doctor, right? If I can give respect and honor to a person who I don't respect, right?
Wow, that's powerful.
Right? I'm going to give it to you because I do respect you, right?
Thank you.
And until you take it off, right? Until you relieve me of my assignment, right? I'm staying the course. Right?
I'm going to leave you your assignment because I want to have fun. I want this. We want to kick it. We
absolutely. Man, Darryl, I love you already, man. And first of all, I want to say I'm proud of you,
Thank you.
For the commitment to education, the commitment to being a lifelong learner, a commitment to helping individuals to not be living in unforgiveness, right? And to get them, encouraging them to be on the side where you are, and being able to release individuals from past traumas or past experiences so that they can actually begin to experience an intimate relationship. Right.
Yes, sir.
And so thank you for that. And I appreciate your work. And whenever you want the champ to come on the podcast, the champ is here. You let me know and I can do that. So that being said, so we have a definition that we use on intimate discoveries when it comes to intimacy, right? And here it is. Intimacy is defined as the level of commitment, positive, affective, cognitive, and physical closeness that one experiences with a partner in a reciprocal relationship. There are four variations to intimacy. There is cognitive intimacy, which is just exchanging thoughts one with another person. And then there's emotional intimacy, which is sharing feelings, which is deeply rooted in self disclosure, right? And then there's sexual intimacy, which is choosing to share one's body in the form of affection, touching, and sometimes physical activities, right? And then there's spiritual intimacy, which is changing thoughts in regarding to religion and morality. So those are the four variations to intimacy, and know that intimacy is a level of commitment, positive, affective, cognitive, and physical closeness one experience with a partner in a reciprocal relationship, right? And that's what part where I had to understand that intimacy is requires reciprocity. And you growing up, you going in the streets and you selling drugs, reciprocity is non-negotiable in the streets, right?
Right.
So if I'm giving you a $20 and you supposed to give me a $20 bag of weed or heroin, cocaine, piece of, pills or whatever, you're giving me that 20%, right? You're giving me that,
Yes,
what,
sir.
right? Immediately, right?
Mhm.
And that's reciprocity. And when we don't reciprocate in the streets, folk get dealt with, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, indeed.
Why you laughing? Talk to me.
I'm laughing. You're taking me back. That's why I'm laughing. And you taking me back to those days there. But what you're saying is true, so that's why I'm laughing. When you're guilty of something, you laugh because you've been hit. So I've been hit. That's why I'm laughing.
But that's the truth, right? And that's the part that I
Right.
love
That's why
about
it's
it,
the
right?
truth.
But
I'm
but
laughing
but
because it is the truth. Because you homing in on something that I can relate to. So
right, and
that's what the laugh is about.
absolutely. And this is the great part about it, right? Because when you define your marriage, how long you been married?
19 years. I did 19 the 26.
19 years, right? And when we look at your record of reciprocity, when we look at the where you come up short on the reciprocity, right? If you look at almost 20 years and you didn't reciprocate twice a month, right? Just
Right.
just twice a month. You coming up on 480 times that you haven't reciprocated with your wife.
I like that.
Just twice a month, right? And so now what we look at is how do we now create an environment where I take my relationship more serious, just like I would take it in the streets,
Mm-hmm.
right? How do you now make that connection?
This is what has to happen. Like I said, I'm a marriage counselor, and one thing I point out is this. I really push pre-marriage counseling because that's so important. Because I am a product of my childhood, my environment, what I seen in my house, minus a father or minus with a father or minus a father. If I had a father, I seen the way he related to my mom subconsciously. That is my beacon as to maybe how I should treat a woman if there's an absence of a father or mother. So I'm a product of my environment, my childhood, and books or whatever. Other relationships. So I have a suitcase full of issues, and my wife gonna have a suitcase full of issues in pre-marriage counseling. I said, let me open up these suitcases and start dealing with some of these issues versus you just go up to the altar, get married, come to the house, open up this suitcase and begin to pull out these issues. And oh my God, I didn't know you had that in that suitcase.
Right.
and all of that. So I believe that, and I teach, okay, let's start talking about these core issues ahead of time before you get married. And matter of fact, one of the books says, save your marriage before you get married. And I thought that was powerful and deep. Save your marriage before you get married. And a lot of people, if they don't deal with this core issue stuff, this childhood stuff, we all have been hurt in some type of way. We all have ideals, and that's why my book is The Struggle. Notice it said it's the struggle of two becoming one. I tell people all the time, marriage is work, hard work. It's a business. You have to work at it. There's a give, like you were saying, reciprocity. You begin to look at it. There's an exchange. There's a give, and there's a take. You cannot be a dictatorship. But back to the question that you asked to really define that is, and that's why I push this healing. I'm deep on childhood trauma because I believe that childhood trauma is what has messed up so many adults. When you look at the divorce rate, 1 out of 2, okay, now that leaves 50%. But even in the 50%, I'll say in that 50 that's still together, maybe 25% of those are not truly happy. They just married, going through the motions, right? So I think that, and I'm going to use my marriage for example. I think that there's been a lot of give and take. My marriage helped me to grow up spiritually, physically, emotionally. It was the clashes, but I think the real desire is that I wanted to be a better husband. You know what I mean? Right. I wanted to be better.
Absolutely.
And I got all kind of books up here on marriage. Trust me, I read all kind of stuff because I believe that there's a constantly learning, there's a constantly evolving. I don't believe in evolution as we came from the ape, but I believe in evolution in the term that evolving. I have to evolve in all aspects of my life if I want this intimacy. I think, and I teach this right here, inside real estate, the number one thing that's key is location, location, location. Depending on the location of the property is going to be the value of the property. So it's so important when it comes to location. I translate into marriage. It's not location. It's communication, communication, communication. We have to learn to communicate. We have to learn to listen to the other person. Listen to their heart. Right. And I say this all the time. Don't listen to respond. Oftentimes we listen to respond. We hear what they say. I just can't wait till they get through because I already got a response for it. So I really haven't heard them.
Right.
Because absolutely. I'm
listening. So let me just, I was married 22 years, right? I was married 22 years. And so at 19 years, where you are right now, I didn't know I was tracking for divorce.
Oh, wow.
Where you are right now, I didn't know I was tracking for divorce. And so when you talk about premarital counseling, we went to premarital counseling, understood the covenant, understood that I'm the husband, in a covenant, you cover each other weaknesses, love your wife like Christ loved the church and give yourself up for it. You did the health inspection, you did the credit report, you did all those things. You kind of opened up the suitcase a little bit, right? Right? Open up the suitcase in premarital counseling, right? One of the things that we have to look at is keeping the suitcase during your marriage. Right. And then so as over 20 years, right? 22 years, we begin to I put stuff in my suitcase.
You were storing stuff.
Right. I'm storing stuff in my suitcase because I couldn't share, right? Right. Because I couldn't be vulnerable, right? Because I couldn't, you talk about feelings and emotions. Well, man, we're not given permission to feel, right? So there's some, happy wife, happy life, right? So
that's what they say.
Right, that's what they say. So when I commit to happy wife, happy life, I'm putting something in my suitcase, right? Right,
good.
right. And so the thing is that when we look at, in order to have an intimate relationship, we talk about that commitment. That commitment is to providing a safe space for your partner,
Yes.
right? And in a reciprocal relationship, right? So there are moments that I didn't feel, like I said, there are times she would say, "Well, what you just said was ghetto." I'm like, "Are you serious?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
But because she can articulate, she went from no degree to PhD, and so she was very articulate. So I couldn't out talk her, right? So
Right.
right, I'm like, you,
Now, Franklin, you know you can't go there with women, okay? No, I'm
no,
just joking.
no, but the point is that you and that's again my point right there. Well, you can't go there with women, and you know what? Because that is sort of a law. I didn't go there with her, and therefore I couldn't go there, and therefore I did not go there with her. So there were things that I did not say
Right.
that was important to me,
Yes.
right? That instead of me sharing, I put it in my suitcase, right?
No good. No bueno. No bueno.
Right. I just put it in my suitcase, right? And then when she say, "Hey, baby, you can talk to me, you can share anything with me." No, I can't open the suitcase because you already told me if I show this to you again, it might be ghetto, it may be of a poverty mentality, it may be whatever, right? No,
Powerful.
right. I just put that in the suitcase, right? And then because I put that in the suitcase, she was also carrying her suitcase, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and there are things she kept putting in her suitcase. Right, remember I told you we just like twice a month. You just blowing her off 480 times. She got like 480 times in her suitcase that I lied. Right,
Right.
I didn't tell the truth. I just like said whatever I needed to say for that moment. Right,
Wow.
right, 480. Right, and that's just in that area. Just saying, hey, I'll take care of it. You just say I'll take care of it, and you forget to take care of it just twice a month. Like I say, you tracking at 480, right? And when we look at your record, as dude, are you serious? You got 480 on your record, and you walking around here,
That's some good stuff, man. I like your analogy. I like that. You're giving me something I can put in my book. I like that. Putting stuff in the suitcase. Never looked at it like that. That's good. I love it.
right? And the thing is that when that suitcase gets so heavy,
Mm.
right? After 20 years of carrying this suitcase, my God! And matter of fact, the thing is that you ain't even trying to get me a strap, right? To carry
Wow.
to put the suitcase on my shoulder, right? To rest my
Right.
arm.
Mm-mm. Sometimes they call in the movers to come get the suitcases.
Right. And that's when
That's
divorce
a big
happens,
one.
right?
Yep.
Right. Or you
Right.
just drop the
Mm-hmm.
suitcase, right?
Right.
The point that we're looking at when it comes to this baggage, this carrying of these issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that when you commit to vulnerability and being able to say, "Hey, listen, baby, let me sit. Can you open up that box, right? I want to reconcile the books. I don't want to put anything else in the box. Let me know when the moment comes when you feel like there's something that goes into that box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, and again, my pastor, at Victory Christian Church, Pastor Dwayne Brunson, he's passed away, bless God. He gave an analogy where each individual comes to the altar with an envelope, with a folder, right? And when issues come up, you slide that in the folder, and that folder keeps getting fatter and fatter to the moment that you put that last little receipt in that folder. And guess what happens to that?
What's that?
It breaks.
Mm.
And that's why it's important to understand that intimacy is a level of commitment. And that
Right.
commitment is to being vulnerable, to being able to say, hey, listen, again, whether it's a suitcase or a folder, whatever it is, babe, come in. Let's talk about that, right?
Right.
Right. I know that I'm at 473 right now. Babe, I don't want to get to 480.
That's good. I like that.
But I really don't want to get to 480. Right, we're at 473 right now, and I'm sorry I'm at 473, and it took me this long to get to this point to recognize. But let me know when I'm missing it, right? And I don't want to miss it,
Right.
right? Let me know, and that's, and like I say, there's again, this is an individual. This is, I'm going back to me, right? Having couples, you name it, right? Premarital
Right.
counseling, like you said, that it's important.
Mm.
But yeah, when you forget, right? And
Right.
this does the scripture that you let things slip.
Right.
Yeah, right. But it's Proverbs. But the thing is that going back to being able to be able to have that space where both
Right.
individuals can share. And that's that commitment to vulnerability, being able to reconcile the books. And so what are your thoughts, Legacy? Talk to me.
Yeah, I actually have a question for Daryl. So Daryl, in your counseling, um,
Mhm.
do you advise, like, so for instance, my previous relationship, we did traditional courting. We took sex off the table. We didn't live in the same state. We lived like 3 hours away from each other, so we were very intentional about like video calls, connecting throughout the day. And then we talked about the soft stuff. And then we spent intentional time not only putting the hard things one by one on the table, but we also were very intentional about connecting through different activities and things. What are some of the things, tools, activities that you advise couples to partake in order for them to develop some level of intimacy beyond the sexual aspect of their relationship?
One of the things that we do is I advise when they have marriage retreats. That's for one, to go be around other people to learn. And this is the thing I always see, and I point this out, is that we, when it comes to our car, when the car start running rough, then we go get a tune up. But I find it odd that when the marriage go running rough, we don't get a tune up. I'm a marriage counselor and I still go to marriage counseling. I think that date nights is real good. You go out, you do stuff. Never let the zeal in the fire go out. I think that people have to do what they did in the beginning. I think a lot of times in the courtship phase, you go all out, you're all out, and then all of a sudden, once you get the person, you get married, then things change. You don't go all out before you might have had on negligee. Also, now you don't wear negligee no more.
She got the
So,
bonnet. She got a bonnet on.
Right.
yeah. Now, so I believe a lot of things that you did in the beginning, you have to keep doing those things, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because it's going to be a change. People change.
Right.
I'm changing. My wife changing. My body's changing. Her body is changing. So you can't have the mindset, this is the same person that I was married to. No, there's an environment. We're constantly changing. And we have to ask each other, what do you like to do? Stay with each other's interests. Stay with the desire of the person and what they want. That's why I went with communication, communication, communication. Oftentimes, people do not communicate. I remember there's a song called Welcome to Hotel California. I don't know if y'all remember that
I remember
song.
Oh
Hotel
yeah.
There
California.
you go. That is a powerful song. We all know that both of them went and filled out an ad talking
Mm-hmm.
about if you want pina and colada, you like pina and colada,
Mm-hmm.
being caught up in the rain. So both people in a relation go, Go fill out this ad. They see the ad. Mm-hmm. They respond to the ad because the person they with don't like that. Oh, this person, I like that. And then they meet up and they come and find out it's both of them. Like, I didn't know you like the peanut. I didn't know. So there you are.
Right.
Both of y'all have the same interest, but you never communicated and know what. And that go back to the word to know, not just sexual wise. Right. To know about me, to know what I like, to know what I don't like. So that's why it's a constantly working. Marriage is a work. I got to work on to know her deepest secrets and being able to be all right with that. So it's things like that we have to do. A lot of fun games that you can do. We're in technology age right now. Mm-hmm. You can Google so much. Oh, how to and spice up my marriage. Somebody got a video. Trust me. Somewhere on YouTube. Games. My wife is go get these cards. The sex card things, and you pull the card out, whatever the card said, that's what
we do, right?
right.
So, and you're like, oh, he said put that right there. Oh, hold on.
Daryl, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 57.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're all the same. So
I didn't get married though. I didn't get married till I was 38.
38.
Okay.
Oh,
and there was a reason for that. There's a reason for that.
Absolutely.
And the reason why I asked is because I came across this. I can't think of their name, but I came across this amazing couple on TikTok, and that's one of the things that they always show. Like, they are, I think, late 50s, maybe early 60s, and like sometimes she just has on a robe and she's on the TikTok, and she's they're getting dressed for she's getting dressed for her. They highlight their dates, their time together. They have these scheduled dates, and he gets excited and he runs his hands through her hair, or she might order something, some good smell good, or they got dressed up to go out, and they're color coordinated, not Bopsy twins. I can't do the Bopsy twin thing, but I don't mind a little color coordination between me and my mate or whatever. But we ain't dressing alike though, or having the same print on us. But yeah, and I think it's amazing because so like you said, so often people they get married and they're like, okay, I got him, and just forget it. But no, it has to be an intentional act every single day, showing the other person that you care, that you love them, that they are on your mind, that you are a part of my life. What you like, what you do, who you are is important to me, and vice versa. Our children are important, and we both, not just the mama or the daddy. Right. Because let me tell you, my brother's a Mr. Mom, through and through, girl dad. And but to show both of you that it's important to spend time with the kids. Let them see that mommy and daddy mean so much to each other, that it's almost to the degree the kids will be like, ew, yes. Right. They need to see that. Because once they get older, they're gonna be like, oh, okay, all right, mom, all right, dad, I see you. And they know what to expect when they go out in the world, and we're so ill-equipped, when there aren't two parents in the household, when they don't see a couple being appropriate with each other. Not all this, the raunchiness you keep behind closed doors, okay? And it's okay. And there's a little bit of, you can show a little bit of stuff, but it has to be age appropriate. It has to make sense, and it's so important. And so many people forget. So many people forget. So that's good. I'm glad you do that.
Amen to that.
Beautiful. Amen. So when you were talking about what you did in the beginning, right? You have to continue to do that through the marriage, right? What you did to keep her, or what you did to get her, you got to continue to do the things to keep her, right? So when and looking at that, right, holding person to that, and so I look at, I used to ride her on the front of the handlebars on the bike. And so now we used to, you ride on the handlebars on the bike, and now that I'm 63, right, and she's 67, right, do I now Like, babe, we did this in the beginning. You need to get on up on them handlebars.
Come on, man. You know I ain't talking about.
Franklin,
No,
what
no,
kind of
no, no. But what I'm saying, no, no. Listen, no. I know that you're not talking about that, but at the same time, the thing is that we have to have this safe space where we talk about and we consider those things because I love riding, baby, with you. I love spending that time riding, right?
Right, right.
So now that we're talking and we're collaborating, let's say, hey, no, baby, I still like joy riding with you, right? What do you feel comfortable with in order for you to enjoy the ride with me? And having that conversation, that baby, okay, now don't you ain't got to get on. I don't want to get on the handlebars, right? Because one, your arms are like be wiggling,
yeah, that's funny.
right?
But
To
yeah,
be
that's
able
what
to
we're
have
talking
that
about.
conversation and say, now listen, why don't what we're gonna do now because we like riding. Let's go downtown and let's get a carriage ride, right? Let's get somebody to ride both of us,
Right.
That's beautiful there. I like that.
Yeah. Or a
right?
tandem bike if they still are athletic. Go get on a tandem bike and where they ride together. Or let me tell you, shoot, man, I there's some people here that is a bike club. The founders of the bike club are in their 60s and they do century ride. The men do the century rides, the women do about 40, 50 miles, and they're in their mid 60s. And I'm like, okay, now, whoa, all right. They can outride me on a bicycle, But I think what you're saying is important is that if there's something like, yeah, you did that as childhood, of course, at 60 something, you ain't putting nobody no handlebars, because you ain't trying to break something. But what is the next level? What is it? What can we do? Maybe back in the day, y'all partied it up and that was y'all had a good time, but now, the club scene is not your thing. But what else could you do? Could you do a dinner show? And that still meets that part of you that loves music. Maybe you're not really cutting it up, cutting the rug like you used to, but you can sit and listen to the music,
Right,
and have
right.
some good food and partake in some conversations with other people, with other tables, and so forth, or the crowd, maybe a comedy show, and it's just in the genre of what you perceive to be funny and humorous. It's like you have to constantly search. Like you got me thinking about someone I had met, and we're just cool, we're friends, but he's like, oh, I don't really go out, and he's very wealthy, and he's just like, I work, and he's got young girls, young daughters, and I'm like, okay, so but if you're in a relationship, like, what do you do? He doesn't drink, he eats very healthy, he's like, I don't really eat out much, I don't he is into like athletic stuff, and also military, and very probably very military-ish, in
Mhm.
his activities. He likes to go to the range. He likes to be outdoors. And I said, so what do you do? Like, what have you done? And it's been very far and few between the activities. He may have traveled with people in the past and stuff and things, but it's very limited. And I'm like, well, I understand, like, you don't drink. Okay, that's fine. I'm like, do you have a problem if someone else drink? If your partner drinks? No, I don't have a problem with that. It's just my choice. I'm like, okay, cool. Outdoors is great. Like, okay, but from a woman's standpoint, like, what things, like, are you creative at figuring out what could be fun for the two, for two people, this and that? And there are a lot of people that struggle. And now, don't be stealing my idea, Dr. Tolbert. I have this thing about it's called the box. Okay.
Hey, you're sharing your idea.
Absolutely, you are sharing your
I'm,
ideas, and
okay. I'm sharing.
it's not. Hey, listen,
All right. I'm gonna
all I
put it
just
in your
say.
terminology. I'm putting in your terminology. Um, he comes with his gym bag. Okay. He
Mm-hmm.
comes to the relationship with his gym bag. She comes with a trunk, right? No, I take that back. She comes with a hat box, pretty hat box, round hat box, and they are trying to figure out, okay, you got this gym bag, I got this hat box. My hat box don't fit in your gym bag. Your gym bag, if it's empty, yes, it could fit in my hat box, but it might, it's a little big, so I don't know if it's going to fit. People don't realize that everybody comes, like you just said, with the suitcase, with their own things, and that's necessary that they're bad things or anything like that, because my analogy are the great things about us, but we come with our own things. And so I've had men try to tell me, well, I like my house, I like what I do, I like where I live, I don't want any other kind of house, I like my car, you couldn't convince me to buy a new car, I have my own business, I do very well for myself, um, I don't go to church, but I'm a believer, and everything was about what they like, what they do, how they want things to be, and how basically saying, I don't want this to change. So can you fit in my gym bag?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, um, you can't. You know that I come with my own box
Right.
or bag, and he had a hard time. And on top of the fact that because I am a person who is outgoing. I work in the nonprofit social work industry. I'm a life and business coach, a nonprofit consultant, and so I'm constantly talking to people. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, he took somebody else's old bag and tried to put it in my box. Or rather, he tried to put my box in their old bag. And because I'm that kind of person, he eventually, I had to ask him. I said, "Do you think because I'm outgoing, because your past previous relationship, that person was that, but they were out there, as per his words, hoeing around? You think that that's the kind of person I am?" He was like, "Pretty much." I was like, "Oh wow, wow." So you are judging me out the gate based upon someone from your past. I said, is that fair? And he had a hard time, and we eventually part ways. I didn't hold any grudges. I just said, I think this is best. Nice person, but I was like, no, mm-mm. And even in relationships, even in marriages, because sometimes people bypass those things, they ignore them, and they get to the altar, and then, like you said, ta-da! After the wedding night, all those things come out, and they try to fit in, stuff, and your box is round, my box is a rectangle, it don't fit, and they did not do the work to figure out, maybe we need to come out of these boxes and create a new one, or we need to, figure out, or like how when you travel, husbands and wives travel, you may not have your own suitcase. Both, you may decide, we're going on a cruise. The cabin room is but this big. We're gonna bring one bag for this 5-day cruise. We're gonna put all of our stuff in one bag. And so how does it fit in the one bag? And people forget about that, you know?
Right.
Great perspective.
Go ahead, Doc. Go ahead,
That's a
Daryl.
great perspective because, like I say, two are trying to become one.
Right.
One thing I had told my niece when I married them, when two people are in agreement with each other, there's no need of the other person.
Mm.
In marriage, yeah, when two people are in agreement with each other, there's no need of the other person. And that's where the struggle comes in. My idea is I got to be willing to compromise. Marriage is always a compromise. We got to be willing to compromise. Give and take, give and take. You like to go here. Well, I might not like that because I'm in a relationship with you. I'm going to go where you want to go to support you. Then on the flip side, I may not like to go where, good example, my marriage. My wife liked to eat at a lot of different restaurants.
Mm-hmm.
I was not like that. I'm a homebody. I'm an introvert. I like men with me. Well, compromise came. I go, okay, let's go eat out. Next thing you know, I begin to love it. Why? Because I had to give something in this marriage. So it's give and take. And I think with the evolving, as I mature as an individual and I begin to look at life different, I always teach this. I have to look at life from God's perspective. High up, looking down, I begin to see And I tell people I'm great at marriage counseling, not because I had a great marriage, no, because I had problems in my marriage and I had to learn to overcome those problems. And my definition of love is this: the ability to withstand the test of time. I see people say, well, we never got in arguments, we never been in no fight. Well, I don't know if y'all love each other because we know, I don't know if y'all, it's easy to love when, boy, everything is good like a captain. It's easy to power a boat when the seas are smooth, but let a storm come. Now I'm about to see what you made out of. And I think that's how it is in marriages. It's these conflicts. And I use this example that two couples comes in and we two squares. And we keep clashing. As we clash, there's a breaking away. And finally we clash enough to squares become round circle. And now we're rolling in unison with each other. But people have to be able to endure the clash. And I use this other analogy is, let's make a bank account. That's our love account. We married, we have a love account. Every time I do something that's not right, I'm making a withdrawal out that account. If I keep making these withdrawals without making deposits, it's just like in the physical, my regular bank account. I'm assume I have insufficient funds, and I think that's what happens in marriages. They don't keep putting in these deposits, and they keep making these withdrawals, and next thing you know, there's insufficient funds, and now the account is going to get shut down. What's called a divorce, because we stopped making deposits and kept making withdrawals out the account.
So Doc, let me hold on. I got a couple things, right? So the thing is, it's the it's not the insufficient funds that damages the relationship, right? It's the fees that come along with the insufficient funds.
Well, that's the added aspect of
No,
it.
no, but I'm saying because I needed to do this. I needed to do this. I needed, I needed to go and do X, Y, and Z, right? So that I knew, God, I know it's going to take my account below, right? I know it's going to do that, right? And so because you did that, right? It's really the fees that really cause the disruption, right? Like, now instead of you paying $20, you got another $35 fee on that. And now instead of our account being $20 below, we're now $55 below.
But
Right?
let me stop you on your analogy though.
Go ahead.
How did we get there though?
We got there.
We got there because we was not making deposits.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah, you're talking about the results. How do we get, my account should not be down that low to whether a single withdrawal is going to put me in sufficient funds if I keep putting deposits in there and keeping it up. So we down to this bottom because we kept making
those
these withdrawals. There is no penalty on no withdrawals. So I don't have sufficient penalties for insufficient funds. You can make withdrawals all you want, as long as you got the money. But I moved my account into a place now, because I didn't put no deposits, to now what you're talking about is about to start happening. Now, not only have I reached insufficient funds, now I got a tag on of the fees, the excess charges that come with the insufficient fund. But well, how did I get here in the first place?
Right. and now, like you said, now owning that you made those decisions and those mistakes, are you willing, like you were talking about, marriage is or relationship is work? Are you willing to do what's necessary to make the deposits to bring the account back into the positive?
Preach. That's what I'm saying.
Right? You did that, and you're not going to put it on the other person to make the deposits into the account, right?
Amen.
To then go down to the bank and talk to the manager and have them to waive those fees, right? No, you did that.
Right. Right. Ownership.
And that's where we talk about that commitment, that level of commitment, to make sure that we stay in the positive, effective cognitive and physical closeness that we continue to experience in a reciprocal relationship. You got to commit, you got to reciprocate, right? And yes, and I tell you that it requires humility. It requires vulnerability, and again, that's the biggest thing that we talk about here, is that vulnerability is the birthplace of intimate relationships. And so if I can't tell you how I'm feeling without you being judgmental, then you never get to understand why I'm continuing to make these withdrawals, right?
Yes.
Because the opportunity for me to make a deposit is never there, right? I may make my deposit at 7:30 on Western, right?
Right.
That's why I make the deposits on 7:30 on Western, right? But
Right.
but you keep closing the bank at 4:30, right?
Right.
But all that takes is a conversation, right?
Right.
That takes a
Communication.
conversation. Because you can, the drop box is on the other side of around the corner, right?
Right.
Right. But again, the communication, like you were saying, is communication. And being able to again say that, this the only time I have is to make this deposit because I got other stuff going on. Can you accept that? Can you, again, you were talking about marriage is compromise. I now shift because compromise requires a win-lose situation, right? So now we shift from compromise to collaboration,
Right.
where we create a win-win situation,
Right. I like that
right?
analogy.
Right, where both individuals win, right? So let's say, hey, you like date night, you like eating out. Oh my gosh, watch this. Oh my gosh, look at this here. So but you're a homebody, right?
Right.
So what we do now is we now go to the movie theater where they have what is it, dine-in theater, right?
Mhm.
Right? Well, we have this conversation. We're gonna go dine-in theater where we can eat out, right? And I can still be my homebody. I'm relaxing in this recliner at the movie theater. And now we're in a space where I'm enjoying my time with you. I'm still a homebody. I still like relaxing, da 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 da. And you like eating out, and we can order food, so forth and so on. And it just becomes a collecting a unique experience, and that's the part where we miss out, right?
Yes.
How do we collect a unique experience?
I like that.
Right? Relationship is about collecting unique experiences, and so how do we do that? Are we going to focus on what's in, on old stuff that's already done, and the analogy I give individuals, I say, have you ever had caramel toes? And like, what are caramel toes? I say, well, I talk about caramel toes as you go to, there's a spot that you and your partner go to. And they allow you to shower, and you go into the steam room so everybody's clean. And there's a steam room where you immerse your feet in this water that is at temperature ready, that just allows your skin to, your pores to open up, and then you pull your feet out of the water, right? And there's a person there, it can be you or your partner that dabs your feet, right? And soften and lotion them down, and then they put this caramel on your toes, right? It's warm, 102 degrees caramel, right? Oh my gosh, it feels so warm. And you just get there and you're relaxing. And you're like, oh my gosh. I'm like, yeah, where does that happen? Where does that happen? I said, I don't know where that happens, right? But you can't experience it because you focusing on old stuff.
You had me there, man. I'm like, where that's
But that's my point, right? That's my point, and that toes is an arousal zone on men and women, and so now instead of us doing karma, baby, let's put honey, because but that honey love, right? The point
That's
is that,
hilarious.
right? The point is that you don't get to experience caramel toes. You don't get to experience the true honey love because you sit up here won't allow this person to open up their suitcase, right? Get some of that stuff off, right? So that we can now go and have a good time, right?
Right.
Yes.
Come on, Doc.
Yeah, Doc, I have a question, another question. So in your counseling, what have you said or have you done like some speaking at like singles ministries and or just people who are just still in the dating stage or so?
Yeah, I
Okay.
get invited to do marriage counseling. It's one particular people, like we going up to a retreat, I think in August, September, up there in the mountains, and they couple's gonna come there. When it comes to singleness, I mostly deal with the pre and during the marriage.
Okay.
But,
Okay.
I like to talk to single people because the things that we're talking about, and that's why I brought up before saving your marriage before you get married.
Right.
I said before I didn't even have a girlfriend at this time, and I said in something called a manhood class, and the purpose of the manhood class was to educate you on how to be a man. It went over parenthood. I had a father in my home, but it was dysfunctional like a lot of us. You know how that go. As he matured later, it was in the hood, the drinking, the jumping on my mom,
Right.
and all of that. And after he got saved, once he got saved, he changed his behavior. But I had to make sure that I didn't bring that belief into my marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because my other two brothers did. They jumped on their girlfriends and significant others. Why? Because we was exposed to that at an early age. And if you can't, and that's why I say we come with our wet belief system.
Right.
And subconscious, a good example what I'm talking about. I don't know when I first started living with a girl. And she came and said, "Hey Daryl, can I go over here?" I said, "No." She said, "Why?" I said, "Because I said so." Well, where did I get that from? My mom used to come to my dad and say, "Wilbur, can I go over here?" "No." "Why?" "Because I said so." So subconsciously, I'm pulling from your childhood. It's in there. How do you respond? Right. So I'm pulling from that. And that's why there has been renewal. Back to your question, the one thing I really focus on is that premarital, the marriage, and I'm glad you said that. I have never really locked in on the singles. I see people who have single and happy single ministries, but I like to get in that arena because I believe that if you could prepare me, give me some heads up. Oh, let me go this way. Thank you, Holy Ghost. What I give is tools. I tell people I just give tools. That's it, tools. They help you to become better. And it's up to you to use the tools. I have this one book that I do. That's I ask a lot of questions and you fill it out. Don't try to be educated, just fill it out. And that book will hit your core issues at least 95%. And I have the couples that take this test and when they give me your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, then I begin to listen. This is how your spouse is. And the people are like, "Oh my God, that is me." Because see, a lot of times that he was saying earlier about the vulnerability, we come with some issues from childhood. Let's be real about it. And if we don't be real about it, I have all these core issues. You don't know if I've been molested. You don't know what has happened inside my life. So I have these core issues that you really don't know me. And until I begin to dig around into that childhood space and pull out the real you, then you'll just blow things over. And so the book brings out all your core issues, because I'm big on core issues. The Bible says my people perish as a result of a lack of knowledge. If I don't know who I am and what I've been through, then I don't know why I react to the way I react. And I'm married to somebody who may be reminding me of my father, and we clashing, because I didn't like what my father used to do. angry and yell or whatever. And now we're clashing. Why? Because there's a core issue. He's triggering my core issue. And that's why we're having these problems now, because, hey, you reminded me of somebody I have an issue with.
Right. And I'm gonna let Legacy go on with her second question. And so those triggers, right? You can't control what will trigger. You don't know what's going to happen when you trigger. And I'll give you an example. I when I was in the military, I had this issue where this person parked in my parking spot, right? And it was and ended up going to a place where I had to fight for my career. I got relieved of duties and stuff like that. So when someone is in my parking spot, it bothers me, right? So I have a tenant who I say, hey, park here. And she parked a little bit further than what I wanted her to park. And then I told her, I said, hey, I don't want to be triggered. Right? When I look out my window and I see your car pass this spot, it triggers me. And I don't want to be triggered. And so being able to now have that respect to say, hey, listen, I understand that this trigger, well, you need to go to therapy. No, I don't need to go to therapy because therapy doesn't help my triggers because I don't know what's going to happen, what's going to trigger me. But I do know that this triggers me. So can you please park your car like 7 feet back so that I don't get triggered?
Well, that goes along with, and I want to go back to what I was my second part of the question, but to piggyback on what you were just saying, Franklin, that goes to something I used to do with my daughter when she was little. You've heard the saying, teach people how to treat you. Well, when my daughter was a baby growing up, I always told her what she could do and what she couldn't do. So if you have that tenant and you just, continually reiterate, hey, you could park your car right here. This is your parking spot right here. And you don't even go into the, other aspects of why and what your triggers are. 9 times out of 10, she's going to park exactly where you told her to park. Now, granted, some people do ruffle the fence and they want to do what they want to do, and they're like, well, why can't I park over here? This space is empty. Well, this I said, I mentioned to you that this is for tenants. This is the parking spot. That's all they need to know. And I think that oftentimes that we may delve into a lot of other information, and so now
Mhm.
she could be looking at you like, is he off his, off his chain here? If I don't move over, is it going to be a situation or so forth? So we gotta, that's just a suggestion. And I use it in other aspects of my life. Like I try to make sure that I give people information based upon what's acceptable and what works for me. So they don't even really veer off to the other areas too much. Not to say that it doesn't happen, it does, but it also prepares me for when someone does, how to respond and respond appropriately. But does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, and the point is that we cannot control what triggers us. You don't know when you're going to see something that's going to trigger something in you. Yes, I can go to therapy, and I even try it. I say, you know what, I'm gonna be tough. I'm gonna, you know what, right? You know what? This is being petty, right? You being petty, Frank. You being petty. Yeah, no, I'm gonna try. You know what? I'm being petty. I know it is, and so you know what? Go ahead and pull your car on up, right? But I just kept getting these triggers, right?
Mhm,
I kept getting these triggers because it still hurts that they treated me this way,
mhm,
right? And so I just came to a point where I just said, well, because oftentimes individuals need more information to understand why you're asking to do this way, right? And to
Right.
say, hey, listen, this is what happened. It triggers me from a past experience that I can't get over because it hurts. And when you do this, it triggers me. And I don't want to be triggered when, watch this, when I'm with you. I can be triggered by other stuff, whatever. But when I'm with you, I want to be happy. I want to enjoy. I want to go get caramel toast. I want to do honey. I want to do chocolate. Right?
Mhm.
Right? And when you can do that, it creates a level of closeness where you know what? I already know when I go hang out with Daryl, I'm not gonna be triggered. I already know. I know I can talk to him when I don't feel comfortable, and he listens and he makes the adjustments on the spot. Like, oh, babe, we ain't doing that. No, 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 no. You ain't got to get on the handlebars anymore. Right? No, 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 no. No,
Mhm.
you ain't, no, right?
Yeah.
But that requires vulnerability. That requires open communication. That requires a non-judgmental environment. And then going back to what Doc says, listening to understand. Right? Go ahead, Doc.
Mhm. Well, I wanted to ask him the second part of the question.
Let her answer the question.
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
ahead.
Yes, go with the second question. I'm sorry.
And so the reason why I went into the singles area, which that would be awesome and amazing, because I think that there are so many singles out there. My church just had it's called Pour. It's Pour. So that's the night where our senior pastors pour into us as single men, single women, and this was a co-ed single night, and to help us to navigate our singleness. But the thing one of the things I wanted to just ask a question is I know how do you deal with in a relationship? You got these two people who come in pre-marriage, and the challenge you see before you is that they that one or the other has such specifics that they are requiring of their person, right? And so for instance, uh maybe the husband is, hoping that um she's gonna work out, and maybe in the
Mhm.
beginning she said she was gonna work out, but she's really just, you know not she doesn't like it, she don't like the sweat, and so that becomes an issue. Or she's expecting for him to pay for every date, you know um he's not much of a planner, and she's getting upset because he hasn't planned any romantic. That was my brother's situation. He didn't plan any kind of romantic Valentine's Day event, activity for his girlfriend. And so I had helped her out and stuff, but then she she copped an attitude and she went out of town with her girlfriends, and I'm like, wait, what are you doing? Like, you asked me to help you here. The one year he decides to plan. How do you address those kind of scenarios when they're not really listening to each other?
Now these are married people or single people who want to get married.
Single people who want to get married.
Okay, this is why what I address. I say first of all, and this is the problem that we have made is that we never really got to know the person that we dated,
Mm-hmm.
and oftentimes when you see red flags, don't paint them white. A lot of people paint red flags white and go ahead anyway. Marriage doesn't change you. That's a mistake that we make. We think, oh, if I get the piece of paper, I'm going to change. Well, sometimes you may not change. You just hoping because we get married. So when you see these problems that's existing before I get married, you need to start addressing these problems. Don't think, okay, well, after we say I do, then they disappear. Some do, some don't. And that's the key thing that I like about the pre-marriage counseling stuff. Let's deal with this stuff. You need to make up your mind. Is this what's deal breakers? Because there's some things are deal breakers. What's deal breakers? If you're not willing, like he might not want children, you want children. You're gonna marry somebody who told you they don't want children. You think because we get married he want children. You ain't gonna change that. So is that a deal breaker? Or they're not a deal breaker. When we begin to look at, okay, what can we compromise on, in order for us to maintain this. And it's all about knowing the individual. And you You have to get somebody that's compatible to you, like things that you like. You can't force them to become like you. And I think that's the problem that we do. We think that piece of paper gonna change these individuals. They don't. They don't at all. It takes God to change them. To take a person who's willing, who's real willing, a person who really love you. But I think we need to focus more on saving the marriage, and that's what you asked me about before we get married. Because these issues, they cross over with you. Trust me, they do. Mm-hmm. They don't stay at the altar. They're gonna cross over. If he wasn't romantic before you married him, I don't think he's gonna get romantic after you marry him. He could be taught to go and do stuff, but it might not be in his DNA to be that type of stuff. And if you one of these romantic women who love roses and all of that stuff, well, is that a deal breaker with you? Because he may not be. He may have been traumatized growing up, and he's cold, not towards you, but the situation that he went through made him cold and not really touch Philly. So you're gonna marry a man who's not really Philly, and people do, and that's why these divorces comes up, because they thought that he would change, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so going back, looking at your marriage, Doc, Daryl, in the 19 years, can you tell us three things that your wife has asked you to do that was impossible?
Nothing.
Perfect. That's and so looking at that, right? In these relationships, it's rare that our partners ask us to do something that we cannot do. And so, whether or not it's because, again, intimacy is a level of commitment. And so, when you commit to this person and they say, hey, I would like for you to give me flowers, right? Because my love language is flowers. You got $40 in the bank right now.
Right. You short them flowers, that's a deposit.
No, those flowers are a deposit, right? Right. And so I'm not a flower guy. Ain't nobody ask you about flowers. The flowers ain't for you.
Right.
But the thing is that when we look at in the streets, right? Did she ask you to give her flowers? Did you give her flowers? Oh, you didn't give her flowers. Okay, now you about to get dealt with. When we see you, you better not be walking around here on 23rd and Ashland, right? Right? We're going back to the streets, and you haven't delivered flowers to your girl. That you haven't shown her, you haven't made those 6 deposits every week that we require, that she requires. And let me see you on 23rd and Ashland, and you think that you gonna make some, that you got it all together. No, we gonna deal with you, right? And so listen at that, again, going back to that collaboration, right? Are you willing to collaborate? Are you willing to be open for that, for me to share my feelings, my thoughts, my traumas, my experiences, where when I'm with you, it's just an amazing experience, right? So Legacy was asking a question as far as how do you create that environment. Like she said, the past is pouring into those singles, right? As he's pouring in them, how do we provide a safe space for each other? Because when you're fed information on why you shouldn't trust your wife, right? And she's fed information why she shouldn't trust her husband. You can't tell you. In fact, I was listening to Steve. I was listening to Steve Harvey today, and this woman was having she had an affair, and Steve Harvey told her, right, on a national radio worldwide, to hold on to the lie.
Wow. That's it? That's all he said?
No, that's not always it. But the thing is that because the husband heard her in the hotel room with the guy, right? And then there was a moment of silence where the guy kissed her, right? And then he left, and so the husband was like, "What happened during this moment of silence?" And she couldn't tell him, but he kissed my soul, right? So Steve Harvey gave her a lie to give to him because she couldn't tell him that, maybe I really wanted to go out in the hotel, and because you like staying at home, that was an excursion that I could have had, because I couldn't do that. And Daryl or Richard, that moment was created, that fantasy was created. I was vulnerable in that moment, and he kissed me, but she couldn't tell him that, but she had to hold on to a lie, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other part where I look at, as far as how do we have these conversations, how do we again be vulnerable, and then collaborate, not compromise, but collaborate where we both win. And that's the beautiful part about open communication and intimacy, and that is more than just sex. It's a commitment to making sure that we communicate, and reciprocity is there.
Right. And for me, this is the key for me. It's my relationship with God. That has been the key for my change in marriage. I remember a lot of times I used to go to God complaining about something about my wife, and the complaints was valid.
Mm-hmm.
God spoke to me one time. He said something that floored me. He said, the problem is not your wife. He said, the problem is you. I said, well, what you mean the problem is me? He said, the problem is you. You don't love me enough. I said, what that got to do with my wife? He said, love covers a multitude of sins. He said, you are not allowing her to go through her changes. You want this perfection. You want her to be this way, but yet and still, when you married to me, you're not where you need to be. You know, I want you, when you my bride, I want you to be intimate with me. I want you to spend time with me. But you don't have time when you go to be her husband. When she don't have time to spend time, you get mad at her. But you want me to give you grace and mercy for the things that you're not willing to give your wife grace and mercy for. I'm like, whoa. So
Right.
I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So that began to change me, and I began to look at, okay, I'm the head of the house. That means that I'm the servant. So I began to look at ways, okay, how can I serve the house? Me and my wife both work. I come home, is there's dishes in the sink. Hey, I'm the stronger person here. She's tired. I go, I wash the dishes. Clothes need to be washed. I go, I get the clothes. I wash the clothes. Why? Because I'm the servant. I got to do things inside the house that's gonna help her out, to put her in the mood. Now she's more appreciative because I'm helping her out. Then now that creates the bond and the intimacy. But this is growing stuff that you have to learn. And I always say this right here: how bad do you want it? I mean, how bad do you want it? And what was your reason for getting married? And I always teach people, I give them three positions. I say, we got 1, 2, and 3. I want you to put the 3 reasons why you want to get married. And when they put their 3 reasons, I tell them, some people may say security because that's important to them. They put that in the number 1 spot, financial security. I said, you know what? Your marriage probably going to struggle. I say, now, if financial security is in that number 1 spot, and that money become a challenge to where it's not there, where that financial security is gone, now your marriage in trouble, because that's the reason why you got married. That's your why. Or some people put sex in the number 1 spot. Well, what happens is, along the line, the women bodies change. They go through menopause. Some of them still active. Some of them, they start being
Y'all too.
right.
We got pills for that. We got pills for that.
What is wrong with me? You right. I'm just using it.
And we got pumps. We try to figure it out.
So my point is, if that's your number 1, when that stop happening, then the marriage is in trouble, because that's your number 1. If love is not in that number 1 spot, then you're in trouble. If love's in that number 1 spot, if we go through financial hardship, baby, I didn't marry you for money anyway. I married you because I love you. Or we start having problems with, in the sexual area. You know what, baby, I didn't marry you for sex. I married you because I love you. So it all becomes, what is your reason? And you got to have a plan for marriage. I call it the flight plan. You got to have a plan, a blueprint. I mean, just don't get me. What you getting married for? What are y'all trying to be? What is your future? What is your goals? I mean, what are y'all doing? Just saying I do. What are you trying to be? What's your goal in life? You got to have something that y'all working towards. You can't just be going in a circle and say, oh, I just want to get married to be married. No, no. Marriage is a business. You got to have a business plan before you get married and try to stay to that plan as close as possible.
Yeah. So Doc, I take it that you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
No.
Okay, all right, perfect. So Maslow has this hierarchy of needs. And
Mm-hmm.
when it ties into what you were talking about, if you're wanting to be married for financial security and the other person wants sex, right? So Maslow's hierarchy of needs is that at the very bottom is physiological needs, food, water, shelter, and warmth. And then
Right.
there's the safety need, which is where we look at it as vulnerability, right? The safety need. And then once the safety need is fulfilled, then there's the feeling of loving and belonging.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's once the loving and belonging is fulfilled, then there's this esteem need where you begin to feel good about the relationship, you feel good about yourself, and then there's the self actualization where there's a space for creative things, right? Creative activities.
Right.
And so I have spiritual intimacy, cognitive intimacy, emotional intimacy, and sexual intimacy lined up with those hierarchies, right? And
Right.
so God is your provider. So you have the food, water, shelter, and warmth, that physiological need. And then the cognitive intimacy is where that safety need is being fulfilled, right? And so if
Right.
you're looking to if you want your marriage to be financially secure, then you're missing all of these other aspects of your relationship, or the potential that your relationship could have, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then if like you say, well, I want to have sex, right? And so if sex is your number one, you're skipping the physiological needs, the safety need, the feeling of loving and belonging, the esteem needs, and just to get right to sex. And so because you just want that, this whole spot is unfulfilled.
Mm. That's good.
Right. And these are things I learned, right? Because if I knew this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. But
If
it
I
sounds
knew
like a lot of people think the way you're saying, like they they forget that it's more,
right,
and that you have to consider the other person at all times,
right.
as well as yourself. As well.
And that's the part that really helped me, right? That there is more to Frank than just being a provider and protector,
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
right? Because we've been programmed as men that your men are providers and protectors, right? Oh, hold on. Yes, no, I'm not, right? Because you make more money than I do. You make more money than I do, so why am I required to provide more than what you are able to provide? And I can't do that, right? Not at this state. I ain't no way in the world I'm gonna make it to PhD and where you are right now to make all the money that you have to provide for you and the level you want to be provided for. I can't do that today. Now, do you have the patience for me to do it in the next 7 years, right? But my point of it is there's more to me than just being a provider and protector. There, when you experience a feeling of loving and belonging with me, and I can experience a feeling of loving and belonging with you, oh my gosh, it creates that unique experience that I want to keep coming back to. I want to go back because over there I can feel comfortable. I can be myself. I can share and be the best that I can be. I don't have to pretend over there. I can be myself. I can tell my truth and not be judged. And that's where we like I say for me, one of the reasons why I didn't listen through while I was married, right? One, because I thought I was winning. I was better than my dad. I was better than my uncles. I beat everybody, being the first one to graduate from college, right? Get my master's degree, right? I'm winning,
Right.
right?
Right.
I'm doing the best I can. Ain't nobody around me who's better. So I'm the best around here, right? So I ain't listening. I know what I'm doing. And anybody else doing, the guys I'm seeing, they ain't doing what I'm doing, right? And that's the other part that contributes to it, right? What's the blueprint that you're holding up, that you're going by, that is inconsistent with the blueprint that's required for your relationship?
That's good. Say that again.
So
That's
yeah,
good.
so what blueprint are you holding, right? That is inconsistent with the blueprint that's required for your relationship,
That's good. I done stole that. That's good.
right? And again, yeah, and but that's fine. That's why we on this podcast, and that's why I like to be able to have those raw conversations, because the things like that come out of me. Because when I look back again, going back to, like I said, she was a good woman. Matter of fact, she still is a good woman. I ain't gonna discount her from that point. She did 22 years, right? I ain't gonna do that. But the point is that um, I miss some stuff, and she missed some stuff, right?
Right.
And the reason why we both missed it is because of the vulnerability, the opportunity for us to be vulnerable and be able to tell our truth, and our truth be okay. When we look about everything that we argued about in the last 22 years, it's in the trash right now.
Wow.
All the complaints, everything that we done is in the trash
Mhm.
right now. Right? Go ahead, Lex. What are you talking about?
No, I was just like, yeah, that was powerful with how you said it.
It's in the trash right now.
Right.
So when you are looking at, am I gonna argue with this person about this? I'm gonna hold that person accountable about this. I'm gonna put this issue. No, you were wrong, right? And create this level of tension in your relationship. The thing that you're upset about, right, is done, right, or is in the trash. It's going to the trash at some point. So, so how do we now understand that you're more important than this situation that I'm holding you accountable for, that you weren't even there when it happened? Right? And then if you were there when it happened, what's preventing you from owning it and making the corrections to restore integrity in the relationship so that you can move forward and get to the spot that serves caramel toes, right?
Right.
Right. But it does the challenges, and Doc, and so give us some nuggets, right? How we can work with each other, and how we can create those environments.
Everything you said was good. What Legacy is good. I believe, and you said something. I meant to comment on it. You was talking about the parking spot, and you say you haven't been able to deal with it, but you put the reason why, but you're not hearing yourself. You haven't heard from the situation of the mistreatment that was done to you, and that leaves doors open for triggers. And that's why I always, when I do marriage counseling, pre-marriage counseling, the first thing I tell them is this right here: tell me something about your childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I always go to the childhood, because that is where I'm going to find the answer, is in the childhood. It's a kid in all of us. It's a kid in the adult body making decision. You could tell it's a kid because it's not a mature decision. This kid in marriages, you could tell it's kids because, once again, you said, so what are we arguing about? A lot of this stuff is the kid and me arguing about childish stuff, want to have his way. So I believe in healing. I believe going in my childhood, because I went through that before I got married, going in my childhood, bringing up things that I've been holding on to that happened to me, and I just glossed over it. And that's why I'm able to be triggered, because I'm not healed from it. You can't be triggered by something that you hear from. You're only triggered by something that you still have emotional attachment to, and that's why you're being triggered, because I still have emotional attachment to this thing, because I do grief counseling too, 7 stages of grief. So I deal with the healing. If I can heal myself, then when I get up and get ready to go into this relation and educate myself, that's why we do the pre-marriage counseling. These tools you put out, both of y'all, and gave a bunch of tools that if people who was married was listening, you just gave them tools. People who's single listening, these are tools that's being given out. And okay, a date night, being able to listen, working for stuff, being able not to compromise, like you said, being able to come together. So it's a win-win situation. Keep doing what we was doing in the beginning. All these are tools that if people listen and they apply these tools, then it can help them get to the point where, and I say this all the time, outside my house, from the yard, wherever I go, is hell, is chaos, because that's outside. I have no control of that. When I come home and shut my door, I'm supposed to be locking out all the hell. I don't want to come home, close my door, and now I'm locked in with hell. No, this is my space. This is my peace, where I take my shoes off and get in my couch and I sit back and I wind down and I whoosha, I don't need no arguing and hell in here, because I'm catching hell when I go out the door. So the house, the home has to be a place of peace and winding down. And therefore, me and my wife have to work on, okay, baby. And I told her when I come home, my job, I'm wound up all the time at a high level. I know you want me to come in and sit down and pray. Give me about 15 minutes. Let me sit down. I've been on high alert all day. Let me just, once I've relaxed, then I'll come. But these are things that we had to talk about. I tell my wife all the time, don't be yelling. You like to yell. Don't be yelling, because aggression beget aggression. I came out of a family where my daddy used to yell, so, you yelling, you triggering stuff, because aggression begets aggression. Stay calm. I can't understand you, what you yelling. Let's talk civilized. I don't need the neighbor knowing what we talking about. So these are all things that you have to learn. You have to be willing. How bad do you want it? To make a compromise. I can't use the word compromise. You gave me a new word, but it's in my
Collaborate.
vocabulary. Yeah, collaborate. But it's in, because of my mind, compromise is not really a lose. We came together on a situation, say, okay, it's not really that serious, so I'm willing to back down in order for this to happen. But I like collaborate better, so I'm about to upload that to my computer in my brain.
Absolutely. Right. So right.
So go ahead.
So Doc, as you're talking, I'm sitting over here and you're like, well, you got to figure a way to heal and get your stuff together and stuff. And in this situation, I don't know how to, right? I don't know who to go talk to get over this pain that I felt that I was right. I know I followed the procedures. I know that this is what the military was. I know that I was doing right, but I still lost. And know that parking spot was the catalyst that caused them to really punish me and move me from my assignment and I go to the point where I had to fight for my career. Um, I don't know how to fix that, right? I don't know how to forgive them. I don't know how to let that go, right? And so because today, right, I don't know how to let that go, right? I want you to park over here because I know I gotta heal. I know I gotta get through it, but I just today, right? Park right there, park back there, because it still triggers me. And can you do that? If you cannot do that, watch this. Then you gotta move.
Wow. I feel your pain, man. I feel while we talking. I feel people, and that is a weight. And I'm gonna share my experience with you, maybe to help you. This is how I became a drug dealer. When I was growing up, my sister, my older brothers had got on drugs. To this day, I never used any drugs, never drank any alcohol. To this day, grew up in the church. We was church. My dad, after he got over his alcoholism, he became an elder in the church. Went to private school for a while. So, church choir, junior deacon, football, gifted. Trust me, played 3 years, 21-0, got like 15 trophies. So I was never a troubled kid. But my sister came to me and said, Darren, listen, don't be like you live in Russell. Be different. We'll give you everything that you want just to be different. So they put this weight on me to succeed. And that's one of the reasons why I went to the military. And I had more ribbons in my little 3 years on my uniform than my sergeant did. Trust me, I did. Because I'm an achiever. That's what I do. So I use the military because I want to be a police. And in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, if I get to become a police, that'll seal it, man. My mom and dad there, but they was proud of me anyway. But it was the mind of the kid thinking, okay, if I can accomplish this, my sister, I've been improving. I'm not like my brothers. I'm different. I'm gonna be different. So I go to the military, and Germany was hell. That was where they had me stationed. Was hell. That was the worst time of my life over there. Girlfriend left me, everything. I was 18 years old, but I'm painting this picture for a reason. Right? So Germany was the worst time of my life. I came back to Fort Lewis, but I painted that picture because I went through that because I wanted this goal as a police officer. When I was in Seattle, I was going to apply. Like, no, I need to go home to Ocala, Florida. I need to get this in front of my mom and all of them, and they'll be proud. And when I came home, crack was everywhere. I didn't know what crack was. Crack was everywhere. People walk around. It's like 1988. People walking around, and my brothers and everybody selling crack. I'm like, what the heck y'all doing? What is that little stuff? Oh, that's cracking. And 6 months later, I said, let me go down to the police department and fulfill my dream. The reason why I went into the military. Went down there and had an interview. Guy came and he said, listen, what we talk about is between me, you, and Chief McGee. Nobody else is going to know what we talk about. So we talked about my brothers. They sold drugs and everything. And then he said, well, let's take the polygraph test. No, we're going to take one. If you pass the first one, we're only going to take one. If I feel you lying, we'll take two. So we took the one and said, well, it's all good. You passed, everything good. I'll share this with Chief McGee. I'm elated. I'm 21. I'm elated. Before I went down to the house, Mom, Dad, I'm going to get this job. I'm going to be a police officer. They excited. I get a call back 2 days later. I go down there. I'm sitting there. 2 detectives walk in the door. Hey, how you doing? We heard doing your polygraph test that you know a lot of drug dealers. Immediately, I'm upset because the guy told me that whatever we talk about between me, him, and the chief of the police department, he said, like your brother Blip, we know all your brothers sell drugs, and we know you don't want to bust in yourself, but we'll give you a partner, and you introduce your partner to him, and then to be your partner busting, so it's not like you busted him. And I was like, no, man, I can't do that. And he said, well, I guess you don't want to be a police bad enough. I said, no, I don't. If that's what it takes. He said, well, you know your way out the door. So I went out the door. I'm like, how can I tell my parents this? A week later, I get a letter in the mail. The letter said, we hate to reform you, but we cannot hire you because you failed the polygraph test. Well, I know I didn't fail. Because I took one.
Right.
Now, that was the turning point in my life. Immediately, I hated all police. I hated all of them. Subconsciously, if I can't be for you, I'm going to be against you. So I started selling drugs. And once I got busted, I ended up going to prison. and they made me go through is a class called Tear Drug Treatment class because they said that I was addicted to money. But while I was in this class, I got in an argument with somebody and they took us all, and I'm almost through the story. They took us in there and they gave us all this feedback, and my counselor got up and he began just to talk. He said there was this guy who was so successful and he wanted this job so bad, and this job was going to define his life. And he went there and these people lied on him and he didn't get the job. Boy, I started crying. I was crying. He ended up becoming something that wasn't him. He said, Daryl, do you know who that person is? I was crying. Crying. I said, yeah, that's me. And when the session was over, I was walking behind him. I said, hey, thank you. He said, Darren, let me tell you something. I've been counseling for a long time. He said, your case was the easiest case. He said, man, you was like a rocket. You was, he said, when you went to that police department, that's when your life spiraled out of control. But I said all that to say this. Once I understood that the hatred for the police left. Now I work with police. I'm their number one fan. I support them. You know, the mayor and everybody in my city. But I had to be healed of that situation in order for me to let that go. You know, it makes sometimes I think about, man, you know, if I'd have got that job, I would have never went to prison. But then I look at it as if that would have never happened to me, and you need to look at this too. If that would have never happened to me, then I'd never become the person who I am today. Going to prison, I wrote my first book in prison. I didn't even know I know how to write books. I'm an author of 7 books. My first book was birthed inside prison. If I don't go to prison, I don't become an author. I was at the women's prison teaching yesterday. If I don't go to prison, then I don't have a passion or sympathy or empathy for inmates that's in prison. See, so it took all of this, even the injustice, and I told him yesterday, it took the injustice in order for God to bring justice into my life. And you have to look at that situation where you like, okay, yeah, this was a bad thing, but as a result, look what I'm doing today. You got a podcast, you're helping people, talking about intimacy, getting relationships. You're doing a lot of good stuff that if they might have done that to you, then me, you might even have this conversation tonight. Period.
I agree. You're absolutely right. And you're absolutely right. And I'm thankful where I am today. Right. I'm thankful that that I'm able to do this, and I'm able to inspire people, and I'm able to share, to help marriages, to save marriages because of sharing the experiences that I went through. One thing that I did notice in your testimony was that you didn't know where the healing was going to come from.
Right. Correct.
You didn't know that just sitting in this therapy moment and this guy coming and sharing his story was the key to your breakthrough.
Right. I didn't even know I was hurt. That's the thing.
And that, but that's my point. So you can't, I can't judge you. I'm like, man, you need, come on, Daryl, you got to get over it, man. You're like, I can't get over it. And then you sit here and this guy like start telling his story and you break down crying and it releases you.
Yes.
And up until that point, I needed to give you grace.
Yes.
Up until that point, I needed to be non-judgmental.
Yes.
Up until that point, I needed to respect your boundaries.
Yes.
Up until that point, I need to be, because I want to hang out with Daryl, right? I have to be cognizant to protect Daryl so that he's not, watch this, triggered while he's with me.
Correct.
Because I'm a safe space for Daryl.
Yes.
Right? Check this out, Daryl. We coming up on 2 hours, right? And only Cat Williams goes to 3 hours, right? So check this out. We want you to come back, Daryl. Man, this was a powerful conversation. Legacy came in, showed up, brought the questions.
Thank you, Legacy. You said good
Thank
stuff.
you, thank you.
Love your feedback. Always good to have a woman perspective. Trust me.
All right, well, here we go. This is Jan Franklin, and this has been another amazing episode.
They said I wouldn't make it, but I'm here now.
I'm here now.
And I'm here to stay,
Dr.
never
Dell
go
came on.
down. 'Cause I'm a champion.
I brought the doc on here.
Champion.
Legacy.
'Cause I'm a champion.
7-time
A
author.
champion. A champion.
Yeah, I did that thing, right? I'm here now, baby. The champ is here. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Dr. Darrell, Dr. Tober, for coming on. Again, thank you, Legacy, for bringing the truth, bringing a woman's perspective. And we'll be back here again next on Wednesday.
They said I wouldn't make it, but I'm here now.
I'm here, baby. I love you all.
And I'm here
Again,
to stay, never go down. 'Cause I'm a champion. A champion.
yes, make sure you
'Cause I'm a
register
champion.
for our upcoming